So since summer began, I've been road running instead of trail running to avoid encountering brown snakes in the gorge behind me here. And when I started trail running, I noticed I was getting some medial knee pain. Now there's not a lot of footpaths in our area, it's very hilly, and so often we're forced to run on the roads for, decent segments. And what I noticed is the camber on the road was creating valgus forces on my knee, and it got better if I ran in the middle of the road where there was less camber or on a flat footpath. I thought I would be better at handling uneven surfaces given my history of trail running, but road running is such a more repetitive force going through the knee, whereas trails, the surfaces are changing constantly. It's much more dynamic. So I might be telling some of you to suck eggs, but just a reminder to ask your running cohort what surfaces they're running on. On the back of last week's video where I recognised camber affects running load and potentially injury, I thought to myself, what are other important questions to ask our running cohort? So I'm going to list them today, and in the next few weeks we'll go into a bit more detail. So stay tuned. So number one, yes, surface. Are they running roads or trails? And are they always running the same direction? Same direction means they'll be running the same camber. 2, what shoes and orthotics are they wearing, and are they appropriate for their activities? 3 is elevation. Are they running on flats or hills? 4, are they doing any strength training in the gym? 5, what is their load history, especially in the last 4 to 6 weeks? Has there been any changes to their load? 6 is their distance volume. What sort of distances are they doing, and how do they break this up in their week? 7 is speed changes. So have they suddenly decided they want to run faster per kilometre and increase their speed for any reason? So have a think about all these questions over the next week and why you think they might be important, and see how you go when I go into detail into each and every one over the next few weeks. So we've already discussed surfaces and direction of a runner's route, but we discussed it in the sense of road running with lots of repetition and sometimes steep cambers and how that can affect things on the body. So let's quickly touch on trail surfaces. So on a trail, there's going to be constant variety. Every step is different. So this is going to minimize repetition, unlike a road run. And it's also going to be great for people's proprioception. You always have to account and adapt to different surfaces, rocks, different angles and everything. So it's great for the brain. The brain has to constantly make decisions throughout your run. So great physical and mental fitness. Our next question to ask our injured running cohort is, what shoes are they wearing and are they functional? And likewise with their orthotics, you want to be checking if they're functional too. So the pods out there can do that. But as far as shoes goes, they need to be in a specific running shoe. A heavy walking shoe is not going to work. A casual sneaker is not a running shoe. That's not going to be functional. So send them off to get proper running shoes from a good store that's going to fit them properly with a shoe that's appropriate for their feet. Running shoes are going to be designed to have a bit of a rocker through the forefoot to help with propulsion, good midfoot support, good heel counter, all that stuff. Now for trail runners, especially if they have orthotics, you might want to check if they're suffering from rolling their ankles. I found when I started trail running that even though I've worn orthotics for years and I find them super comfortable and supportive and love them for running, on the trails it was stopping me from pronating and adjusting to uneven surfaces. So I was rolling my ankles and getting really anxious about that. So I had to really work on strengthening my feet to be able to endure trail running and hold up to that load. So in that case, you're going to need to strengthen their feet before they can go down that path and sort of wean them off the orthotics for trail running. But it's definitely a consideration that you might have to do that. Another load-based question we need to ask our injured running cohort is, are they running on hills or flats? What sort of elevation are they doing in their week? And have they changed this recently? So if they've just started running up hills and things, this is going to require more strength. Now, running on hills is great functional strength fitness for runners and improves their power output. But do stay tuned next week as we talk about why true strength training in the gym is also important for runners. I always ask my running cohort, injured or not injured, are they doing any strength work in the gym? Most endurance athletes just do their sport. So often runners just run. and they think running up hills is their strength work. Now, we touched on this last week, but true strength work is typically classified by something that is heavy enough that you can only do a maximum of 15 repetitions. This is because it needs to be heavy enough to create strength-related changes in the muscles. So if you're running up a hill for 100 meters, you're still doing like 75 steps. So that's 75 reps. See how this isn't true strength training? An increase in strength training has been shown to improve running efficiency. And if applied correctly, it can help to minimize injuries. So I highly recommend you get your runners onto a strength program. The strength guidelines recommend 2 to 3 30-minute strength sessions per week. And if they're not confident to do this by themselves, refer them to an exercise physiologist, an exercise scientist, or a personal trainer. Next up, distance volume. So we need to ask our runners what distances they're doing throughout their week and how they're breaking this up. I've said it before, the body loves variety, and here again we are looking for variety in distances because this will then result in a variety in different speeds. So a common distance volume pattern for a runner would be 2 5-kilometre runs in a week and 1 10-kilometre. But they're probably better off doing a 4-kilometre, a 7-kilometre and a 9-kilometre. Because for each of these distances, their bodies will have to pace themselves at different speeds. Now, distance volume needs to be built up gradually like anything else. So consider someone who's running 3 to 6 5-kilometre runs in their week should not then jump in and do a 12-kilometre city to bay. Think about that. Changes in speed creates changes in load. Try to work out if the runner in question has been pushing hard every single run, or if they've given themselves a new speed goal. For example, they've been running 6-minute kilometres and for some reason they feel they now need to be running 5-minute kilometres, and they've been pushing themselves to make this goal happen immediately. Running faster increases effort, but also greater forces at ground impact. It increases speed contraction of tissues, and all these things create stresses on tissues if not adapted to properly. Runners need to be educated that changes in speed, like anything else, need to happen gradually. And like anything, they need to train variety, and this includes variety in speeds, i.e. they don't need to be pushing hard every single run. So we've asked our injured runners a lot of load-based questions from have they changed their shoes, their orthotics, have they changed surfaces, elevation, distance volume, and what's the last one? And changes in speed. But we really want to be thinking about all these load-based questions, particularly in the runner's last 4 to 8 weeks. Have they changed their load in this period? Because our bodies are pretty good at dealing or coping with minor changes in load. But after about the 4 to 6 week mark, the body is starting to let go and complain and let you know about it. And this is when we start to see those repetitive load injuries. So when you are asking all these load history questions, ask them again, but more specifically, have these changes occurred in the last 4 to 8 weeks? And particularly if those load questions have sort of increased, would be a big flag.